Yep.
Now, in this time, it's very easy to find a wrestling school. You can go on Google because it's your mom and it knows everything. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, it was harder to find a pro wrestling school. How'd you go about it?
When the day came that I decided that, I have to try this, I was in my 20s, and I just started looking through wrestling magazines and things like that, because, there was no internet at that time. And I came across Sweet Daddy Seki's School of Professional Wrestling in an advertisement in a wrestling magazine. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this. I got to try. I was so scared. I was like nervous as anything. I gave them a call. I talked to a person named Ron Hutchinson. And so I went down to check out the school, and I watched everybody, working in the ring, doing their thing, training. And I was very excited, but very nervous at the same time. I talked to Ron Hutchinson, and it took me a year to get over my nerves, yep. But a year. So I went back and I joined right away, and never regretted it since. Every Saturday, Sunday, 6 to 7 hours a day we trained, and it was I'm so glad I did it.
For sure. And was Sweet Daddy Seki around at that time, or was it just under his banner?
Basically, he owned the school, and he did train wrestlers for a while, but just before I started, he had given up on the training part. I met him once. He came in just to meet us, but Ron Hutchinson was the trainer, and Ron Hutchinson was really well known in the wrestling business. He had ended up training a lot of named people over the years. And he's a very respected person. And so it was Ron who took us through the bumps and everything. Very, very good trainer. He was very basically strict on what he did. Great guy, but you weren't allowed to work unless he said you were. Yep. He covered basics all the time. It was always back to basics. And that's one of the good things about him. He worked our butts off till we're ready to puke. So, and I got to train with some great guys like Edge and Christian. There was Swinger, Johnny Swinger was another one. Let's see, Joe Legend was another one I got to train with. El Fuego Kid, Rob Fuego. So I got to work with some of them, and I learned a lot working with them. It was really great.
That's a fantastic crew to train with.
Yeah. So,
and Ron's an amazing trainer.
Oh yes, and they were there before I started. They had been there a while, so basically they were kind of in their last year of being there. But I got to work in the ring with them, and they were gave me a lot of advice, taught me a lot. Great guys, attitude wise. I couldn't ask for a better situation to be in. I mean, it was great. And it was, I remember my first time there because I walked in and they were going over slams and suplexes. And, Ron said to me, he goes, "You're kind of a big guy. You look like you can take it. So you're going to do this." And I remember not being able to walk for 3 days after that. But it was fun. I mean, it's just, I was very fortunate to go at the time I did.
For sure. Now, like you said, Ron had the say of when you got to wrestle. When did he tell you you're going to have your first match? Who was it against and where was it?
Okay, so what he did is when he felt you were ready, he would say that you could have you could go out and wrestle. But my first match, actually, everybody in my class, our first match was a show he put on, a charity show called Toy Fight Double Trouble. And it was he at the time, you know, with the wrestling licenses and everything else, you had to have that. Well, none of us had wrestling licenses. So what he said was, it's not a professional show. It's just a charity show that none of us are professionals. But we're just putting on this show to raise money and stuff for kids at Christmas time. So what it was we had a few matches. My match, I wrestled against a guy named Sheikh Abdul. I can't remember even what his last name was. 6'4" guy, big guy. And then at the end, we had a battle royal. And it came down to me and him in the battle royal. And I, mistakenly eliminated myself, knocking him through the rope. I thought I had won the show, and so I used to dive at that time, so I was trying to be cool. Did a suicide dive did a suicide dive through the rope onto him, and then found out that I had lost the battle royal because I eliminated myself. But I had a lot of fun. So that was my first show, and he was my first opponent. So
what an experience.
Yeah,
like just to be in all that couple matches and a battle royal, and then be in the final couple. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then at that time you were Jimmy Fury.
Jim Fury. Yep.
Jim Fury. That was it.
Yep.
And then what inspired you to take that name?
I just liked the name Fury. I mean, I know I liked comic books and things too, and there was a Nick Fury. It just kind of described my energy, I guess, at the time. Fury just kind of sounded, really furious. I know it was weird. I was young, right? It's a name that it just caught me, right? So I thought that was kind of a cool name. So yeah, I took that and I just went with it. It was, kind of memorable because people just called me Fury after instead of Jim, right? So
yeah.
Actually in wrestling school, the guys like Joe Legend and Adam and Jay and them, they called me Smiling Jim because they liked to work with me because I was always smiling, and they, I'd let them try any kind of move they wanted to learn. So, so I had a few nicknames there, but yeah, Fury just stuck. And, the flames, I mean, even back then I had a singlet with flames on it. It looked kind of goofy, but, that was just, I don't know. I felt that it met my persona, I guess,
No, for sure. That's awesome. I liked it. I thought it was a cool name.
Oh, thank you.
For how long did you then wrestle as Jim Fury, though? Because you wrestled for a while, and then you took a break, and then that's when I met you. Yeah,
so I wrestled on and off for about 5 years. For those 5 years, I was Jim Fury, and then basically wrestling, it just kind of was hard to get into.
What's the time frame? Because I don't think people realize in Ontario, it was really hard. You had to have a license. There wasn't many promotions because they had to have licensing and then sanctioning fees. Your insurance, everything like ready way beforehand. So there wasn't as many shows as there is now. Not even close to as many shows as there is now.
No, there was, back then when I started, there was only 2 promotions, other than where I was working, which became the Apocalypse Wrestling Federation. But other than my school, there was Neo and Renegade. And that was it. And, neither one of them was going to have me because I was so new to it. And I was too nervous to work for anybody anyway. I mean, I was still learning. I had trained every weekend for over a year. And that was going back and forth to Toronto every Saturday, Sunday. And that was when I ended up having that first match in that show that we had. But basically it was on and off. And then it was just basically after life kind of took me out of it, and I was out of it for like 11 years. And until the bug just bit me again, and I was like, I have to try again. I have to. And that's, I went from there. But yeah, people don't realize, I mean, I see now a lot of times people are getting into it, you know, after only having a few training sessions, and we weren't allowed to do that because, you know, it's you can get hurt very easily. I mean, I'm living proof of that, and that's why I had to retire. But yeah, it's just one of those things where we had to, it took a long time before we could get in there. And then if it's something you don't do on a regular basis, it makes it even harder. Harder to stay in shape, harder to remember what you have to do, remember how to, you know, stuff like that. But so it was 5 years off and on. Got out of it for 11 years, and then I came back, and yeah, it was just after I came back is when I ended up meeting you and the rest of the crew.
Wow. Now, did you always stay in shape, like from the time you were a kid and joining the school at 20 to today, or has it been like an ongoing process?
It's an always for me, it's been an ongoing process. I mean, when I first got into wrestling, I was about 85 pounds. I was in decent shape. I mean, I was, you know, small, but I was, you know, I guess kind of athletic, I guess you could say. But yeah, after I got out of wrestling, basically off and on, my, you know, physical stature went up and down. Sometimes I kind of dropped out of it altogether and just let everything go. But then, yeah, once I decided to make that, you know, change to go back into it, I really had to focus and get into shape, because I knew what it was like to be in there. And I remember the days training, and it's not easy, and it's something you have to be in shape for. And I don't mean muscular or anything like that. You just have to physically be able to do it. And that's the thing. So, and the cardio aspect of it is just, you know, you have to have that as well. And that was one thing I did. Yes, and that's one thing I did not have going back into it. So I had to really work my butt off to get back to that point.
And then was there like just an aha or a light goes off, like I have to do it again? Like what made you decide, you know what, I'm doing this in life and I got to try this one more time?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, you know, I mean, I believe everybody has regrets. And for me, it was a regret all those years that I had stopped doing it, and I didn't really give it a good try. I mean, because one thing that I kept thinking about was, if I hadn't have stopped, where would I have gone? Because a lot of people from Ron Hutchinson's school ended up in the WWE or WWF at the time, or you know, sometimes they even ended up in ECW, things like that. But I thought to myself, would I have been one of those people, or, you know, or would I just be working a lot more as a wrestler on the indie scene? So it's just something that really bothered me. And then one day I just, you know, thought, I got to do this. And I happened to drive by the TWA Wrestling School, which is now the CWF. And I, you know, light went on. I thought, I got to go in and talk to them and see if I can start training again to get back into it.
And then how'd that process go? Was it Chris Thorne who was training at the time, or who was the trainer?
Yeah, he was, but it was mostly Easy, Eric Kearney, and Robbie Reckless. They were the trainers, and I told them, you know, I had done it before, but I mean, it was going to take some time for me to get back into it.
Sure.
But I mean, it helped that I had the experience from the past, so it didn't take quite as long for me to get the hang of it again. But yeah, it's just, I realized how hard it is on the body training again. So eventually I just trained long enough, and I tried to get out there, and I started getting work, and it was nice to just get back out there and meet people and get connections. And then I ended up, PWA, and that was, such a great time in my, second career. A lot of great memories and everything, and a lot of great people there. And I can't thank you and PWA enough for having me there. But
no, we're thankful you came, because I think I met you at Busted Knuckle, right?
Yes, that was I believe it was the Rumble for Rose.
Yes.
Yes, and that was one. Yeah, that was the first one, and that's where I met most of you guys. And I ended up in a tag team with Reggie Marley during my time there. We were brothers from another mother. Yeah, so like I met a lot of great people, and most of you guys is how I met there, and that's how I got to know most of the people in wrestling that I know.
That's awesome. And then you come over to PWA, and did we have you as the singles run first, or did you tag with Platinum first? I thought it was the singles Ontario title type thing first.
Yeah, it was. So I came in there, and my first match with you guys actually was it was Triple Threat. Yes, I believe it was a Triple Threat. And then I did a little bit of a singles run. I won the Ontario title, and then lost that in a Triple Threat. And then it was just after that, me and Derek Platinum became the Modern Day Warriors, and I had a lot of great success with that. That was a lot of fun.
How did you like being the singles guy again? And then how did you like going into the tag team with Platinum?
Being singles is great. I mean, I think I had the most fun and most success as a tag team wrestler. But I mean, obviously, it always meant something to me to win a title. That just meant I had achieved something in it, right, in wrestling. So,
Sure.
So whenever I won a title or anything like that, or a big match, it was just added to the great memories I have, and it satisfied a need in me to succeed. And I mean, there's a lot more in wrestling really that I wanted to do, but I mean, my body just ended up over the years saying, okay, that's enough. And that's what I said when I came back. I would do it till my body told me to stop. So
for sure.
But going from singles, I mean, like I said, I probably had the most fun as a tag team wrestler and the most success in my career. And I don't regret any of it. It was all good.
What was the differences tagging with Platinum compared to Joey Allen? Because you were in both teams for quite a while.
Yeah, version 1, version 2.
Yep.
Both great versions. I mean, Platinum was more of a comedy aspect. Great guy, great partner. But he was more of a comedy aspect. And I was a little more serious at the time. And then with Joey Allen, he was more of the powerhouse, and I became a little bit more comedic, and he became a little bit like he was more serious. But again, both versions were great. Had lots of success with both versions, had a lot of fun, and a lot of great matches. I think with me and Platinum had a little bit more success just because we had a longer run. We got to wrestle some great people. I mean, Carrot Cup, we ended up going through, with our tag team titles on the line, which was the first time that ever happened.
First ever.
Yes. We beat the Barbarians, then we beat the, who was it now?
You guys beat the Young Bucks, didn't you?
Yeah, in the final.
And then you wrestled. There's another good team in there too. Really good team.
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank. They were on that TV show. Anyway, sadly, I can't remember their name. I can see their faces. I just can't remember their names. But yeah, we beat the Young Bucks in the tournament final, and I mean that was great. I mean, that was a great memory. I mean, that match is on YouTube. I've watched it a few times. It's weird watching myself wrestle, but yeah, I think just with me and Platinum, we had a longer run together, so therefore a little more success, a little more fun. But again, like I said, I had fun and great success with both versions. Joey Allen, he's a great wrestler, great guy. We've had our ins and outs, ups and downs. You know, we fought each other off and on before that, and then we had a falling out after. And you know, when they turned on me, yeah, that was, you know, I look back on it and smile. You know,
that's where you had the asterisk beside the Pure Wrestling Championship win at Open Streets, correct? When you and Al?
Yes, actually, he was champion for over 500 days.
Yeah, it was a huge amount of time.
Yeah, and nobody could dethrone him. And I ended up, well, he actually cheated. And he had something, I don't know what kind of some kind of foreign object, hit me with it. And yeah, when the referee counted to 2, I ended up getting my shoulder up. And I ended up beating him. And I thought I had won the PWA title, but it turns out he had put that foreign object in my tights. And Lenny Lilock was his manager at the time. And ended up pointing that out to the referee, which I had no clue it was in my tights. And he said that I hit Joey Allen with it, and so the referee disqualified me. And but that was the closest I ever came to the PWA title. I've had a few shots at it, but yeah, again, it was just you know, off and on with him. But then yeah, we made a good team, and then you know, we ended up having a falling out, and basically then I, you know, wrestled him and beat him in a match after that, and then went on to finish out my career.
Indeed you did. Now, that match you guys had, I'm thinking you're talking about Guelph when the bottom rope snapped. Or maybe it was the middle rope, when it was like the spear in the corner or something and just exploded.
Yeah, so what happened is one of the moves I like to do is I would drape the person over the second rope, and I would hit the other rope, come off, and I would splash them on the back. Well, that's what happened, and the rope snapped, and we both tumbled out of the ring. And but yes, that match, and then I ended up beating him, I believe, in that match, because we had a couple matches. Yeah, and basically that was the end of our feud, I guess. And then it was just basically now focusing on getting to the end of my career, and you know, having the matches with other people on the way to that.
Do you think if you weren't hurting so bad, you would have probably had more opportunity at the big belt? Because it looked like you were going that direction, and then we kind of swayed off it. You had the feud with Allen, and then it was kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, like I said, my body, it just, you know, just also being, you know, doing laborious jobs over the years as well, and then trying to work out and do that as well. It just had a lot of, like a big toll on my body. And I was a little reckless 2 years before with the wrestling, trying to, you know, do dives and things like that. So, you know, you get little injuries and they nag over the years. But in one of the matches as well, it happened in Cambridge, I believe. I injured my neck in a match really bad, and that still bothers me to this day. But I was very sore, and I couldn't move my neck for, you know, about 2 weeks. So that was another thing that kind of, you know, I thought, okay, well, I'm getting older. I was older than most guys in the locker room. And I thought, you know what, maybe this is a good time as well. But like I said, my joints, my, you know, things like that hurt all the time, even when I wasn't wrestling. So as I said, I'll just do it till my body says I got to stop. So that's why it was one of those things that if I didn't have the injuries, the nagging injuries, things like that, I probably would have kept going, and just to see how far I could go. Because like I said, there was some things, and the PWA title is one of those, you know, things that I wanted to win officially, but it didn't happen. That's okay. I don't regret it. I mean, it's just, you know, it's not for everybody, right? Not everybody can win everything. So, yeah, it's just one of those things that, you know, I may just have to step back in there and take it from someone.
Hell yeah. Now, you feuded a little bit with Mike Hart, and you feuded a little bit with Lenny Lilock. You've been on both their teams, kind of. Talk kind of about that time, because there was so much emotion in the room when those kind of matches where it was King versus Lilac, or when you end up teaming with them and beating up Mikey. Like, could you feel that?
Yeah, it was, again, with Lenny Lilac, we were back and forth. I mean, we even had a match, if you remember, where he slapped Michelle, and then we ended up, and then we ended up having a match. It was kind of like a hardcore match, and I beat him in that. But then, he ended up being my manager, and again, with that, it was back and forth, up and down. But again, looking back on it, he was a great manager to have. I mean, in my opinion, one of the best in professional wrestling. He could adapt to any kind of situation. He wasn't afraid to get in there and, take one for the team. If it meant, scoring a win. With him, we did a lot of cheating. So, it's not cheating if you don't get caught. But so it's just one of those things where you really feel, basically with him, and then feuding with Mike, and then basically siding with Mike and things like that. Mike is another great guy. We still talk to this day, still hang out once in a while. You almost feel like family with these people, right?
For sure.
So, and I guess you don't get that connection with everybody, but it's like you get so involved with a manager or something like that it feels like, a family member you're working with. And it was just, when you're wrestling them and when you're working with them on the same side, you kind of like, looking back on it, I guess I kind of felt bad beating up on Mike, and then, being on his side after, but that's wrestling, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Now, you were the good guy, you were the bad guy, you ended up leaving a good guy. How do you feel in the different roles?
I was a good guy most of my career, and it's great. I mean, you get a lot of fans behind you and things like that. But I believe that, for me, I believed I could only achieve so much success being a good guy. That's kind of why I turned as well. Well, Derek and I turned because we felt we were going a bit stale, and I guess it went to our heads, and we just wanted more, and that shocked a lot of people when we turned.
Yep.
I remember a little boy coming up to me during intermission, and he was crying, and he was, "How could you? I looked up to you." And I couldn't believe it, right? I felt kind of bad, but at the same time, like I said, I think it went to our heads, and we needed more. And but being a good guy was great. Being a bad guy, a heel, that was a lot of fun. I mean, that was a whole different ball game, and it's so much fun. Getting the fans going, getting them, hating you. One thing I loved to do when I was a bad guy is I used to love to tell the ref that my opponent pulled my hair. Everybody knows I don't have any hair to pull. So that was one little thing I used to get people going with. And, I got known as the cheater, right? Because people were, "Oh, you're always cheating in there." Nope, I'm not. I'm following the rules. But again, it was a great thing, and then ended up going back to being a good guy or a face again. And I felt good ending my career that way, because, I mean, when I ended my career, that was the love I got was unbelievable. I mean, that I'll always take with me. It's just, it was all good,
I was going to say, I was not there for the last match, unfortunately. I was here in BC, but all I heard was it was one of the most emotional moments in the Alpine Club. You wrestled Kato that night, correct?
Yes, and we went
win on him, and then you had that big speech after, and just I heard like from everybody, like it was pretty damn sad, but it was awesome because it was a celebration of you as well.
Yes, and you know, like, I mean, as much as it was, I mean, PWA hyped it up as, you know, farewell to the king, but it was, you know, to me it was win or lose. I had a great run, but it was time to go. But I mean, I wrestled Kaito and or Kaito, I think is how you say his name.
Could be. I always got it wrong.
Yeah, I
phenomenal wrestler though.
Oh, he's amazing. And we wrestled about 23 minutes, and I remember he went for his finishing move on me, and I reversed it into I guess you could call it a modified RKO, and I had to cry. I was so tired, and so, you know, I just had to crawl over. Yeah, I crawled over and hooked the leg and got the pin, and I remember rolling over on my back, looking up at the ceiling, and I just was listening to everybody cheering, and I was, you know, at that point, I mean, I was missing it already. But I was glad that the match was over. But I you know, I started to cry, and just the love people showed me that night, and the fans. I mean, somebody had done up, said thank you, Jimmy King, and they had everybody sign it, and you know, I can't thank people enough for that, and then all the wrestlers getting in the ring and hugging me, and I couldn't believe it. It was just, I was crying, and I was just very emotional at that point. More sad of just, I guess, you know, not knowing that I wasn't going to see much of these people anymore. But I mean, again, it's something I had to do, but it was that was probably one of the most emotional days of my life, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Now, how long, it took a little while, but you came back for a match. You came back for a couple now, but you came back for Mike Hart's last match.
Yes, came back for Mike Hart's last match, and that was at the charity show that Joe Godrich had put on. Yeah, Godrich. Hunter, for the Hunter Foundation.
Yeah, the Hunter Costello Memorial Foundation.
Yes, that's it, yes. I ended up getting the win, which I'm thankful for, but at the same time, it's just one of those things that was emotional too, because, you know, seeing how much he loves wrestling, and you know, he ended up doing a speech to the crowd, and it just was one of those things where, you know, I felt kind of sad too, knowing that this guy, who's a great guy, he had to give up, you know, he had to end his career as well, for his own reasons. But I was glad to be a part of that. That was another emotional time, for sure.
And then you hear on the internet, I think the same way everyone did, PWA is closing. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, when I first heard it was closing, I guess like a lot of people, I instantly thought that, you know, PWA was going to be no more, and that was going to be all of it, like all together. But then when I heard that, you know, it was changing over to 365, and, you know, it was, you know, going to have a fresh start, I was excited for it, actually. I mean, I don't watch a lot of wrestling anymore, but you know, I was really hoping that for 365 that it was going to be like a really good refresh, kind of you know, a 2.0 version, I guess we could say, and that PWA was what it was, and 365 is now going to be something new, and it will, and I hope, you know, when it gets going again and everything else, when this is all said and done, that it has another, you know, 10, 15 year run at least, you know, just like PWA did.
For sure.
It's to me, it's like the best promotion out there. And, you know, it just, I think it's more invested in the fans, and with, you know, storylines and things to follow, and it's it's always running. It's not a periodic thing. It's always there, so you can always see what's going on. It's a regular promotion, and that's another thing I think is good about it, because there's a lot of promotions out there that kind of run every so often, and it's hard to follow any of that. So that's one thing too with PWA or 365. Is it's always ongoing, and not just here in BC as well. Sure. So there's a lot to see, and there's a lot of wrestling going on, but it's always, in my opinion, been one of those promotions that there's a lot for the fans to see. There's a lot of different things, and not everything's the same all the time. Not putting down any other promotion, I just find that there's a lot story-wise to watch.
I love that, because that's kind of what we're working on. And we had that one last PWA show, and that was probably my favorite PWA show ever. I don't know why. It was to see like yourself and I'll do another tag. It was to see Juan Ortiz and Ruffy get a match, because Ruffy never got to officially retire, even though he was hurt really badly and couldn't do as much as he wanted, but he was still in there. And we had Reggie Marley and Elian again, and it was just Vic Venus, everybody who could be there. Scott Chase made it. He was working, but he still made it. And like Geza came out. So like that was my favorite show of all time, just seeing everyone there. Do you have any thoughts on that night?
I thought that was great. It was great to see when I first started in PWA. It was great to see some of the people that I haven't seen since basically, just after I started in there. And it was great to see. It was almost like almost like a reunion. Well, it was a reunion show, but it was almost like none of those people ever left. And it was just great to, it couldn't have had a better, send off. Just having everybody back, and it was really great. I mean, it was very really fun. I mean, I was in the tag team tournament, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of fast paced stuff, and the matches. I mean, it just was a great show. And like I said, seeing everybody back there, it was again, a little sad after it was over, because you're like, wow, this is kind of, you're not going to see this again. But, like I said, with 365, I really hope that, it goes on for a long time.
That's definitely a goal. I wouldn't have killed PWA unless I thought we could do bigger and achieve more. I always say PWA is kind of like the soil. We planted 365, and now we got to see it grow.
Right, and the thing is, you can't really kill PWA, because 365 is still PWA to a lot of people. Sure. I think, even me. But that's I think that's good, because that means you'll always remember it. It'll always stick with you, and that's one thing about PWA or 365. It sticks with you, and I think a lot of fan base, big fan base, and I think no matter where you go to, you'll end up having that. And that's one of the things. It's to me one of the most memorable places I've worked, and it's. I just hope that 365, which I'm sure it will, have the same success PWA did, is because again, it's one and the same. It hasn't, maybe different roster to a degree, maybe a different venue, but it's still PWA to a lot of people.
For sure. Now, what's one thing you wish you would have known when you first started out? Like, now that hindsight's there, what would you wish you know now that you didn't know then?
What I didn't know then was basically how serious you had to be, how focused you had to be to basically go anywhere in this. I mean, when I think back on the conversations I had with Adam and Jay, or Edge and Christian, the what you have to sacrifice to be successful in wrestling. Back then, when I first got into it, I guess I kind of took it as a hobby, and that's one thing too I regret is also that I wasn't more serious, more focused, because maybe I could have achieved a lot more in it. But one thing too is back then I wasn't as careful at protecting myself as I should. I was, very careful of protecting my opponent, but not myself. And that's one thing wrestlers need to realize, especially the young people now getting into it. You gotta really take care of your body because it's the only one you got. And, you get hurt, no one's going to take care of you. And thankfully, earlier in my career, I didn't get hurt seriously. It just over the years and working and things like that, that caused my body to end up not wanting to do it anymore. But yeah, so it's just basically the time you have to put into it. If you want to make it to the WWE or someplace like that, the hours you got to put into it, the time, the sacrifices. So that's one thing I wasn't prepared for back then, because I really didn't grasp that aspect of it until I talked with people and really saw that over the years.
For sure. No, that's a really good answer. Now, I only have one more question, maybe two.
Sure.
Do you still think you'll have a couple more matches like now and then throughout the next couple years?
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, it's definitely not something I could do on a regular basis, but I mean, I'm not going to say that I could step in the ring tomorrow and become PWA champion, but I think I have a match here or there. That was one of the things, like with Joe Dogg's, show. I didn't think I was going to be doing it again, and then when I got asked to do it, I was like, yeah, I think I could do it. And it's one of those things that the occasional match here or there, if somebody needed me and gave me a call, and said, hey, I need you to come in and help or whatever. Yeah, sure, I could do that.
Awesome. Now, is there somebody you'd like to wrestle before you're like, you know what, I'm done?
That I've never really given it any thought. I mean, I've wrestled a lot of great people. I actually, believe it or not, I learned something from every single person I wrestle. Whether it's something small or something big, I take that away with me and I think about it and I think, what could I have done better or what shouldn't I have done? Things like that. But as far, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't know everybody that's in it now. I mean, I wrestled some really great people over the years, so it's kind of hard to say.
For sure.
I don't really know.
All right. Well, my last question is: when you are all said and done with wrestling, how do you want to be remembered?
I just want to be remembered as, basically somebody who tried, worked their butt off, tried to do the best they could. What I lacked in wrestling ability, I tried to make up for in character. And as long as someone can say that, I put a smile on their face. Maybe I took them away from reality for a short time. I gave them some good entertainment. And just basically simple stuff like that. I mean, I'm not looking to say that I was one of the greatest people ever saw or anything like that. Definitely I'm not. But I think just if I could put a smile on someone's face and just, give them some sort of outage from life. I guess that's about it. I mean, that's what I did it for. I did it for the fans, and myself. But I mean, the fans were a big thing to me always, even as a heel.
Sure.
The fans were very, very important to me. And I strived every match that I had to try and give them the best entertainment and put a smile on their face, whether I was a good guy or bad guy. You know, during my match, I tried to give them the best entertainment I could every match, and I tried to better myself. So I think that's about it. If I could put a smile on someone's face and they remember that, that's good enough for me.
Oh yeah, man. I just want to thank you for all you've done for PWA in the past to help set up this new version 365. And I hope you had fun today and getting to talk some of these memories that we haven't lived in a while. So I just hope you had a good time, and I hope we can get you on again sometime soon.
Yeah, I thank you and PWA for everything you guys did for me. I mean, bringing me in and giving me a place to do my thing. You guys were family to me, and the best promotion I worked for. Not to take away from other promotions, but the best I worked for. As far as this interview, yeah, this was a lot of fun going back over memories. I mean, I got a lot of great memories I took with me. Yeah, anytime, I'm, more than willing to do this again. And like I said, I mean, if there's a time, someone needs me for something or, whatever, I mean, I always have a match or two left in me. So, yeah, I appreciate this very much, and I had a lot of fun.
Thanks so much, man. Last question. Where can people find you online if they'd like to interact with you?
I would say that the best place is Instagram, at Wrestler Jimmy King. That's basically what I use the most. So yeah, I used to post a lot of wrestling stuff on there. Now, not so much, obviously, because I'm not in it. But that's, yeah, basically if they want to follow me, that's where to do it.
Perfect, man. Thank you again, and talk soon. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, and you take care.